If we talk about India as an example, I mean, you've got some wonderful bowlers, Ishant Sharma, who you touched on before, Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. I mean, there's to name a few. I mean, if I had to name someone that I just loved watching, and as a kid growing up, was the late, great Malcolm Marshall from the West Indies.
Oh, yeah.
He was just wonderful fast bowler, and we tried everything. Laxman and Dravid were, simply too good for us in that game that day. I mean, through the leg side and through the offside at will, and there's nothing I can do about it. This batting is just too good. Don't underestimate the what Ravi Shastri has brought to this Indian side. If you remember, as a player, he played to win, didn't he?
Hello everyone, welcome to SK Live. Today we have Australian great fast bowler Jason Gillespie. I'm Indranil Basu, your host as always. Hi Jason, welcome to SK Live. Good to see you.
Welcome, thank you. Good to see you too, mate. Thanks for having me.
So how was last 2 months or so, sort of happening in the world, into the coronavirus pandemic, really affecting each and every one of us. So how have you been coping with this?
Yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting time for everyone, of course. And, for me personally, had a bit of a whirlwind trip in March. Obviously, I coached Sussex in the county championship. So we flew to Cape Town. Then things changed with COVID-19. So flew back to England. But then obviously it became pretty clear that the county season wasn't going to get underway. So made the decision to fly home and spend some time here in South Australia with my family. So been here ever since, and just waiting for potential for county cricket to start up again. So we'll just have to wait and see.
And when do you see the world cricket starting all over again? Because we are hearing a lot of reports about World T20 may not happen and Cricket Australia is more keen to have the India series more than the World T20. So what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that there's going to be some cricket behind closed doors in the UK. So England will be playing some Test cricket and some one-day cricket. As for the World T20, I'd be surprised if it went ahead. But I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic. I think everyone needs to be optimistic. There's a lot can happen between now and when the World Cup's scheduled. So I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful. I don't know if it's going to happen. There has been a lot of talk that potentially instead of the World T20, there could be the IPL could use that window to play some cricket. So I think at the moment there are a lot of unknowns, and I think we just need to wait and see. We all have to, as in India, here in Australia, I think we're all taking the best advice we can from the medical people and also the government advice. So I think we just all have to sit tight and hopefully some good decisions will be made.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you in touch with the Australian current cricketers and how they are coping with this crisis?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of the South Australian players, all the players around the states in Australia have all just started their training again. So I think that's more from a fitness point of view, just getting some fitness training in and building up slowly. I haven't spoken to any guys specifically. I'm not involved in state cricket in Australia. I'm only involved with the Big Bash League. So I keep in touch with a few of the lads involved with the Adelaide Strikers in the Big Bash. I suppose more pressing is, county cricket, where that's at. So keep in touch with the Sussex boys quite regularly and the coaching staff and everyone involved with Sussex County Cricket Club. Look, I don't think there's going to be any county cricket before August. I think that's been the ECB have released that. Again, we're hopeful of getting some cricket in, but I think the priority in the UK is to get international cricket up and running. And if they can get that up and running, even if it is behind closed doors, I suppose that's better than no cricket at all. So I think that's the focus, and hopefully we can get some county cricket and some T20 blast cricket. I think, look, to be honest, I think anyone would be happy with any form of cricket to be played. You know, everyone's desperate to have some live sport, and as long as it can be done safely, you know, obviously everyone's health is absolute paramount. As long as it can be done in that way, then I'm all for it.
Thank you. No, I was wondering, you know, the time you played for Australia, that time world cricket has tremendous bowlers, you know, be it Pakistan, be it England, all of them were really top performers. Do you think over the years, in last decade or so, the bowling standards, the world bowling standards have dipped a little?
I don't think so. I'm pretty excited by the bowlers that are around the world at the moment. And, you know, I suppose the last decade, I mean, we've seen one of the greatest of all time in Dale Steyn from South Africa play.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, we talk about, you know, if we talk about India as an example, I mean, you've got some wonderful bowlers, Ishant Sharma, who you touched on before, you know, Jasprit Bumrah, you know, Mohammad Shami, you know, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. I mean, there's to name a few. I mean, there's so many. Umesh Yadav. I mean, I think the bowling stocks are quite healthy. And if you look at Australia, Josh Hazlewood, Mitchell Stark, Pat Cummins, James Pattinson, Michael Nessa, Jackson Bird. I think there's some wonderful bowlers. You know, we probably have seen two of the all-time greats, you know, play for England in the last decade in James Anderson and Stuart Broad. So, look, I actually think the state of bowling around the world, and I'm only talking fast bowling at the moment. So I think the game is improving, and you know, I suppose the biggest improvement that I think we've seen over the last 30 odd years has been the fielding standards. I think as a general rule, I think look, in every era you're always going to have the fantastic players who are going to be fantastic players in any era, but I think overall standards of fielding as a general rule have improved as time's gone on.
Which bowler, fast bowler, did you grow up? I mean, you grew up watching and loved. I mean, someone you always thought he was. He wanted to step into his shoes and something like that. I mean, the bowler you followed as a child.
Yeah, I mean, being an Australian, I mean, everyone grew up idolising Dennis Lillee. That was a given. I loved Craig McDermott. I loved Merv Hughes. Rodney Hogg, Jeff Lawson, all the bowlers that played for Australia. But I think if I had to name someone that I just loved watching, and as a kid growing up, was the late great Malcolm Marshall from the West Indies. I thought he was just wonderful fast bowler, and I think I grew up as a kid growing up and becoming a teenager. I think I grew up watching some of the greats that have played the game, and from a fast bowling point of view, that West Indies team of the '80s, they hardly lost the Test series. They hardly lost the Test match. They were wonderful to watch, led by Sir Viv Richards, and it was just wonderful to watch them go about their work. Joel Garner, Michael Holding, Curtly Ambrose, Courtney Walsh, Malcolm Marshall, all these guys. It was just absolutely fantastic. Desmond Haynes, Gordon Greenwich, it was a wonderful era as a young kid to watch.
Australian team had a great bowling attack, Glenn McGrath and Shane Warne. So how was it? And you created your own aura in that, in that bowling lineup. You could still create that kind of identity. Yeah. So how difficult, how easy was it doing that?
I loved playing the era I did. To the two guys you mentioned, Glenn McGrath, Shane Warne. I mean, to be able to share a dressing room with those guys and be part of a bowling attack that's with those guys in it, it was great for me. I mean, I loved it. I mean, had Glenn McGrath bowling, I got to bowl the other end to Glenn McGrath with the new ball, and I always felt I was in with a chance of taking wickets because the opposition would be making sure they didn't get out to Glenn, and they thought, well, we might have a go at this guy at the other end and try and score runs off him. So I always felt that that I was in the game. I reckon from time to time, I always felt that opposition would look to target me in the bowling attack, which I loved because it meant that, okay, I might go for some runs, but it might create some opportunities for wickets. And, that was fantastic. But to be able to, say I played cricket with those guys, and obviously the guys like Brett Lee and Damien Fleming and Paul Rifle, Andy Bickle, Mike Kasparovich. I mean, Stuart McGill, Colin Miller. I mean, I was very fortunate to play with a lot of these guys, and it was just a great time to be playing cricket, and absolutely loved it.
The best test match we've seen was 2001 Eden Gardens, India, Australia. And I remember day 3 when Lashman and Dravid were batting. I remember how they survived your spell. Jason, you were simply awesome. The way you bowled without a success. I remember there was a devastating spell and the way they survived. And that's how they won the test match also, because they survived your spell. So can you run us through that?
Look, I think we all bowled good spells at that time, not just myself, but I remember we tried everything. Laxman and Dravid were, simply too good for us in that game that day. I mean, I remember we tried everything. I even flapped my arms running into bowl, trying to put Laxman off because we just could not get through that. His bat, it felt like us bowling to him and Rahul Dravid. It felt like their bats were about 2 foot wide. We just could not get past them. They hit everything in the middle of the bat. They seemed to find the boundary all the time, and we had no answers. We tried. We gave it our very best. And I think some of the best batting I've ever seen, particularly against spin, was Laxman in particular, when Shane Warne was bowling into the rough, outside leg stump, and Laxman was just playing some of the best shots you'll ever see. Even Shane Warne was saying that he can't bowl better than this. He was saying to all of us, he's hitting me out of the rough through the leg side and through the offside at will, and there's nothing I can do about it. This batting is just too good. I think India are a very good team. I think they're very well led. They've got a bit of attitude about them. I think India, there have been times in the past where maybe they haven't had that they've sort of been on top for a period of time, but haven't been able to, take that, put that final nail in the coffin and finish the game off. And, I think that's what we're seeing now. We've got an Indian side that can do that and, hold the tension for longer. As I said, they're very well led. I think, don't underestimate the what Ravi Shastri has brought to this Indian side. If you remember, as a player, he played to win, didn't he? It was all about he, went hard out there. He was willing to potentially lose a game of cricket in order to go for the win. And I think that winning attitude, certainly rubbed off, and it's certainly rubbing off on the captain, Virat Kohli. And I think it's rubbing off on a lot of the players in that setup. And
last question I'm tempted to ask: how did you transform Ishant Sharma, the bowler? Because he had a lot of talent. We saw him coming in 2008, how he bowled against Australia, how he got that wicket of Ricky Ponting. That was in the gully position.
Yeah, I remember that.
After that, we saw him bowling. He was really wayward. The way he was shaping up. And then one stint in county under you, he came back as a changed bowler. What do you do with Ishant?
Well, I'll be honest. It was all down to Ishant. I think what he did really well was he was very open to conversations about how to bowl well in England. He just wanted to have an impact, and he listened to his teammates, the coaches. We all had conversations. But it was his work ethic, and he put in a lot of hard work. All we spoke about was his wrist position and, having wrist and fingers behind the ball and making sure the length you're bowling in England is right. And, it tends to be the length you bowl in England is just a fraction fuller than you would bowl in India, because obviously the surfaces don't quite bounce as much in India, so you have to dig the ball in a bit shorter. We spoke to him about keeping the off stump in play and looking to hit that length that, hits the batsman on about knee roll height on his front foot. So if you can hit that length consistently and you have your wrist and fingers behind the ball that allow the ball to move through the air, you'll get some assistance with the Duke cricket ball off the pitch, and it'll create opportunities. And
thanks a lot for coming on the show on SK Live. It was really a pleasure talking to you. as you bowled, you've such a big heart, and the way you answered every question I asked. Thanks a lot. Stay safe and best wishes to your family, and hope to see you in India very soon.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you very much for the chat. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.